What's up, Brew Crew? Opie here. Welcome back to the Brew City Garden. So I always get a lot of interest in the tomatoes and a lot of interest in the tomato bucket system. So I think it's time for an update. Now, if you recall, the tomato bucket system consists of 18 buckets, each with one individual tomato in them. I've got the automatic watering system set up on it. It's just a real simple drip system, and you can go back and check out my previous videos that show you how this whole thing is set up and the how the drip system is set up as well. Now, this year, just like every other, has been incredibly productive, and the tomatoes in the buckets really tend to ripen up quite a bit faster than the tomatoes out in the bale garden. And I think that's because they're really kind of confined. You know, a 5-gallon bucket's a fairly large container, but tomatoes will use every single bit of that growing medium. And they're still just slightly stressed, even though these things are very babied, they're very well taken care of. Their roots really kind of start getting bound up right around this time of year through the rest of the season. And it kind of signals to the plants that, hey, it's time to get the fruit out. It's time to reproduce. So these things really ripen up quite a bit faster, which is perfect because it kind of it's a succession through the season of when I get my tomatoes. These will ripen up much faster. It gives me time to process these before the bale garden tomatoes ripen up. So it really works out really well. And as you can see, the tomatoes in here are doing just beautiful. Now, we have had some problems with the tomato bucket system. It's been so cool and wet this season that we have run into some blight, early blight to be specific. And I've got it somewhat under control. I really had to trim these plants out quite a bit to not only get rid of the affected foliage, but just to open the system up and allow for more airflow through here. So even though I still have black spot and some early blight on here, for the most part, it's very well under control. So it's really not going to affect the fruit production too much. And we're still gonna get a very nice haul of tomatoes out of the tomato bucket system once again this year. All right, so early blight, blah, 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 weather conditions, blah, blah, blah. I know what you're thinking, show me the tomatoes. And that's what we're gonna do. You know, there's no better feeling than coming out and picking your own homegrown tomatoes and making a big fat tomato sandwich or some fresh salsa. So let's get in here. Let's take a look at what we got going on. We'll harvest what's ready to harvest. And yeah, okay, let's do it. Okay, guys, fasten your seatbelts. We're going handheld here, so it might get a little bit wobbly, but it makes it easier to get through this this gauntlet. So the first two tomatoes plants we have here are the Italian heirloom. These are absolutely my favorite tomato so far of all time. They're just a beautiful tomato, great tomato taste, sweet, meaty, like an ox heart, very good. Next two tomatoes are the San Marzano. These are the tomatoes I am least impressed with. They're very susceptible to blight. As you can see in this plant, I had to strip most of the foliage off of it just to get it under control. And honestly, I don't think the fruits are as good as everybody makes them out to be, which very well could be my growing conditions. Now the last two plants in this row are the Tiffin Mennonite. That's what they are, Tiffin Mennonite. Just a beautiful, large tomato. They're just now starting to ripen up. I have not picked a ripe one yet, so that one will probably be our first. And as you can see, some more very large tomatoes on this plant. I mean, just very large. Probably some of these are pushing 3/4 of a pound. So really impressed with them. It's a potato leaf variety, gorgeous tomatoes. And then of course we've got the Amish heirloom tomatoes, which ripen up a little bit quicker and are also just a beautiful large beefsteak style tomato. Some issues with blight, but nothing terrible. And we move on down, and we've got our Cherokee purples, which are a fan favorite for many people, myself included. They're just a big, beautiful, dark, smoky tomato, very meaty, very delicious, makes great salsa. I got 2 of those. And then the yellow pear, and as you can see, the yellow pear is really starting to take on that blight pretty hard, which is funny because it resisted it a lot when all these other plants were really getting it bad. There were no signs of it on the yellow pear, but now suddenly we've got quite a bit of blight developing. So I have to come in and remove some foliage and spray them down again. My favorite cherry tomato of all time, I got 2 plants here of Sun Gold. If you've not had the Sun Gold tomatoes, you absolutely got to give them a try. So far they are the sweetest cherry tomato I've ever tasted. Absolutely beautiful. Now down here, these next 2 plants are called Wild Sweetie, and these are actually a throwback to the wild tomatoes that were found in Mexico. Just a very small cherry currant type of tomato. Extremely prolific. The growth on these is amazing. I grew one of these in the back garden one time in the straw, and the plants were so big that they bent one of my steel reinforcement tomato cages in half. That's how big that plant got. Just amazing. So just walking through here is almost difficult. Then the last 2 tomatoes are the Golden Nuggets. I found these seeds at My Gardener, and they are supposed to be a stabilized version of the Sun Gold hybrid. And they are quite prolific, but unfortunately they're not resistant to blight at all, it seems. They just really got hit really hard by the blight, which is why you can see all these cherry tomatoes. As you can see, very prolific tomato. I mean, they're just pumping them out. The only problem with these is they don't taste anything like a Sun Gold tomato. They're not sweet at all. They're more acidic, very tart cherry tomato. So although they have a beautiful growth and very prolific, I'm really not impressed with these, and most likely will not grow these again, which is a shame. I was really hoping to save seeds on these and propagate them year after year, but they're not a Sun Gold, not even close. Of course, you can see how wild those Wild Sweeties get. Just amazing. The growth on these is incredible. You just can't stop them. And loads of these beautiful cherry tomatoes, little currant style. So guys, that is the 18 tomato plants in the tomato bucket system. Really a beautiful system. I've been using it for 5 years now and have not been disappointed. We get the majority of our keeping tomatoes that I put up for the winter out of this particular garden. So it just works out wonderfully. All right, guys, let's harvest some of these tomatoes, see what we get. All right, guys. Hey, thanks again for joining me here today at the Brew City Garden for the tomato bucket system tour and harvest. And man, look at those beautiful tomatoes. Wow, I think I'm gonna make up a batch of salsa tonight, and for sure a tomato sandwich. You know, guys, this is what it's all about. You know, we put in the time, we put in the work. We sow these seeds, you know, about 8 weeks before the frost, and we baby them all the way up until late summer, and we get just the most incredible bounty. And it's so worth it. You know, it's therapeutic, and you get awesome tomatoes out of it too. I mean, how could you go wrong? But anyway, hey guys, thanks again. I really appreciate you being here. Hey, if you liked what you see, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're new, hey, hit that subscribe button. We've always got cool stuff going on here on the Brew City Gardener channel. So we'd love to have you. All right, guys, it's time for me to get out of here. You guys have an awesome day. And until next time, we'll see you.